I've made you sit through some pretty intense cringe, but it does not even compare in the slightest, not even a fraction. Think of sand on the beach to what you are about to see. In The Gift That Keeps On Giving, this is a story that is not only more incredible the longer it goes, and the permeations and ripple effects that it's having on the rest of the internet, but I actually have a role to play, or played a role in this story. I may have stolen one of James O'Keefe's dreams. Of all the pranks that James O'Keefe has pulled, this one, perhaps by myself, wasn't even planned. In fact, I didn't even want to cancel the James O'Keefe musical. I would have preferred to have filmed and gone to the James O'Keefe musical as some kind of a, let's just say, media figure. You know, I'm definitely not a journalist, but certainly someone looking to cover it objectively and everything that it was about. And unfortunately, in the process of finding out how much the VIP packages cost, I may have got the whole musical shut down. I didn't know also that this was like such an important part of like James's life that like it's so important to him that he was willing to actually burn down what I thought was a very profitable and most likely heavily outside funded media empire, which was, you know, Project Veritas. The whole thing is clown shoes at the highest degree. Like it was just a factory of lies from the very start. That's his whole career. He's just a troll. He's a troll that rose to the ranks of having like a couple crumbs of truth in a couple of the things he did, but for the most part would just lie or pay people off on camera. Has been caught time and time again. At one point, he was actually in legal trouble when he was basically straight up trying to like wiretap people's phones, and then he was like, oh well, oh wait, this is illegal, you say. Interesting. Anyways, long documented history of lies. I didn't know this entire time that it was because of the music. It was because of the show. I knew that he was really into musicals, musical numbers, specifically Michael Jackson. And as someone who isn't admitted a long time, I was a Michael Jackson truther. So of that, of having a fondness, especially as a white person, for Michael Jackson's entire catalog, and truly believing that, you know, Michael Jackson could do no wrong for a long time. Don't worry, eventually I broke. Like when that documentary came out, I was just straight up like, fuck. I've been living a lie for some time now. He definitely did it. Yeah, that's fucked. Oh god, what a monster. What a monster. I'm not someone who boycotts music. I'm for Death of the Artist. I still listen to a lot of musicians. Because like, if I had to cancel every single musician that was problematic, well, there would probably be not a lot of rock and not a lot of early hip-hop, to be honest, that I would be allowed to enjoy. There would be a lot of musical genres where it would just be like, oh god, Jimmy Page, oh god, what are you doing? Oh god, what's happening? You know, shit like that. Yeah, never meet your heroes. There's a lot of musical artists who I absolutely love. So on that, I could understand it. He's like a little drama kid who wanted to just have musicals and then eventually have musicals about his life. I didn't know that he was like willing to take the entire thing for it though. James O'Keefe, outright cruel. Project Veritas employees. Internal memo alleges. The undercover video operation run by the right-wing operative James O'Keefe is in turmoil, racked by unhappy donors of O'Keefe's outright cruel behavior towards the staff, according to internal memos signed by a third of its employees. A fucking third. Working for O'Keefe at Project Veritas can mean being publicly humiliated by him in what amounts to public crucifixions, and even required to take lie detector tests, his unhappy employees write in the memo. I would describe Project Veritas' current employment with this saying, "The beatings will continue until morale improves," one disgruntled staffer wrote in the memo. On Monday, Project Veritas staffers presented the nonprofit board with a document covering the behavior, saying they were troubled and frustrated by O'Keefe's management style. Later in the day, the board voted to reinstate 2 executives O'Keefe had fired a week earlier, while O'Keefe went on paid leave. James will be taking a few weeks of well-deserved paid time off. Project Veritas executive director Daniel Stracke wrote Monday in the internal Project Veritas group chat obtained by the Daily Beast. Even though O'Keefe is synonymous with the group he founded, his fate at the nonprofit remains unclear. New York Magazine first reported on the internal dissension of O'Keefe's leave. O'Keefe didn't respond to requests for comments. In a statement, Stack told the Daily Beast the board is constantly evaluating what the best path forward is for the organization. The internal dissension comes as Project Veritas faces a number of threats, including an FBI investigation and an ex-employee's lawsuit alleging O'Keefe oversaw a raucous, sexually charged workplace complete with at least one drug overdose. Project Veritas has denied breaking any laws in the FBI investigation and is fighting the lawsuit. In December, the group laid off several staffers. Now, people like Glenn Greenwald will try to fool you and be like, hey, if we don't stand up for Project Veritas, are we ever going to stand up for journalism? I may not agree with everything he says or his opinions, but at the end of the day, this is an outfit breaking stories. Did you see the recent one where basically they found out that Pfizer, yes, that same Pfizer, is doing directed evolution. Yes, they are actually creating the very viruses they purport to be curing in order to what? Print the money. Yes, ooh. Even though it was another one of those catfishing videos where someone's fooling someone else to go on a date, and then the same person in that very same video then admits that he was lying. He's like, I'm lying to impress a date. I don't actually even work for Pfizer, blah, blah, blah. I was lying the whole time. That's in the video. Yeah, they didn't edit that part out, but that's, yeah. So he could also just be an actor hired by James O'Keefe, because he's done that before, just to lie on camera as part of the sting operation. And like, well, we don't have a story here. Well, what if we made the story? James O'Keefe also has a long documented history of weird-ass sexual shit and trying to, like, use what he called kinky sex in order to lure a CNN woman journalist, and then use it as a way of being like, haha, I wasn't actually into that kinky sex we had. And I even listed the objects of the kinky sex, which included dildo. Yes, dildo was going to be involved in the, quote, kinky sex that they were going to have. And also, there's also an alleged story of them having a staff party on a boat and doing so much shit that they literally shit. Like, apparently they started shitting on the deck. I'm assuming from all the drugs they were doing. Yeah, I guess they were doing a few too many key bumps. At a certain point, it was like, oh wow, that's a lot of alcohol and cocaine all at once, and shellfish earlier, and boom, that apparently is well, allegedly. We have to say allegedly for the purposes of this, allegedly. But yes, the literal poop deck. The memo, which was obtained by the Daily Beast, covers its founders demanding an alleged abuse treatment of its staff, even laying out concerns that Project Veritas will soon collapse entirely as donors and employees flee. 16 staffers signed their names to the memo, according to the document. James has become a power-drunk tyrant. That's doesn't surprise me, because like in the videos we've been seeing of James lately, he looks like he's pretty deep into the booze. And some other stuff, possibly. The Daily Beast was also not independently able to confirm the anecdotes. Still, they offer a glimpse into the internal debate within Project Veritas before O'Keefe went on leave and saw his decisions reversed by the board. The memo details a series of bizarre incidents. In one, during a September 2022 trial against a Democratic consulting firm that O'Keefe later lost, an employee complained that O'Keefe berated them in front of the jurors because he needed something to eat. Ultimately, the employees alleged O'Keefe took a sandwich from a heavily pregnant woman to satiate his hunger. Yes. I was yelled at in front of jurors because he was hungry, and then he took the 8th-month pregnant woman's sandwich, the account reads. In another apparent reference to O'Keefe, a staffer complains about employees at Project Veritas getting spat upon. Rule number 1, you can't spit in an employee's face over a tweet, the message reads. True story. The memo authors describe O'Keefe as a paranoiac, so fearful of leakers within his organization that he set up at least one mole hunt complete with a private investigator and a lie detector test. He tried to Project Veritas, yes, from the inside. I don't know if he filmed the whole thing and did a sting and everything, or maybe he hired an actor and everything, and, you know, he's like, hey, why don't you take a seat? Yeah, so it seems that I didn't, in fact, spit in your face, right? Well, you did, James. You spit a lot on my face. You didn't need to do that, by the way. That was really, really rude and gross. Well, turns out that never happened at all, because according to this hidden camera that you didn't even know existed, while you were pooping, I filmed you. James, what's going on here, buddy? Like, we used to be something, you know? We had a vision. We were going to take them down. You spoke at CPAC. Every CPAC. In another incident, the top O'Keefe lieutenant was required to take polygraphs as part of the leak investigation. If you can't trust your own team, let alone your own team leaders, what kind of trust do you claim to have? One employee claimed in the memo, describing the lie detector tests. Making your employees take lie detectors? That is so weird. And you know they were asking them some very, very personal questions that they shouldn't be asking their employees. The employees also complained more broadly about O'Keefe's alleged widespread use of verbal abuse, claiming they could be publicly humiliated or face public crucifixions at O'Keefe's hands in front of donors or other employees. Throughout the memo, O'Keefe is described as berating various employees so strongly that people who witnessed the alleged abuse apologized to O'Keefe's targets later. In one instance, the employees claim O'Keefe called Project Veritas staffer Spencer Meads, a staffer so prominent in the group that the FBI raided his home, a pussy. They were raided. James still called Spencer that name. How could you? You know, that's the worst name you can ever call a man, because it's a reference to a woman's vagina. How dare you? How dare you call them a pussy? In another anecdote, staffers were so severely verbally attacked by James that the staff morale dropped to an all-time low. The memo's authors also raised concerns about O'Keefe's use of Project Veritas money to promote his own theatrical ambitions. Project Veritas is best known for its undercover stings against Democratic groups and other Republican targets, but O'Keefe, who performed in high school musicals, has added a series of musical productions to the group's repertoire, including an elaborate Project Veritas experience that involves O'Keefe dancing while wearing a bulletproof vest. Now, my friends, I have brought you footage of this. We will see this in firsthand. I want to tell you that this is not new to me. I knew about his musical theatrics for a long time. I could tell that this was a man who he was not living his truth. And that's sad. It is really sad. The same thing goes for Tim Pool. Okay, this story is going to intersect between them two very soon. Both of them really want to be rock stars and theatrical performers. I think the height of James O'Keefe's career would not be taking down AOC in a sting operation, even though he would love that, as would a lot of the right. It would be getting a Tony Award. Those are the awards given for the highest levels of that particular field, and I think that's what he truly wanted. Let us take a quick break to see some of what he's missing out on. This is very early on, some very early James O'Keefe musical numbers. And by the way, it's amazing that so much right-wing fucking Christian fascist money was being poured into this outfit, and this is what it was getting translated into. Like, if there's someone who's in Project Veritas and corrupt, maybe James O'Keefe was a hero all along. Because if he's willing to take all their money and instead do these lies to basically target trans people and stuff like that, or make everyone confused about why we should actually hate Big Pharma, this is what it was truly going towards.
Take your time. Hope that you can find a way to make it right, to get your sleep at night. Listen to my basics, open your mouth and taste it. Don't be afraid to face it. Give up your comfortable 100-piece solution.
What's this bootleg Seinfeld backing track? You know what? That's kind of it, right? It's like it's scuffed ass wannabe Michael Jackson mixed with all these right-wing politics, while at the same time, it sounds like the soundtrack comes directly from Seinfeld. Look at little baby James. He was so young back then. I'm gonna be a star when I grow up. You can't tell me what to do, Mom and Dad. You know what? That's probably really sad. I shouldn't even laugh about that. It's probably like some really right-wing Christian household where they're like, no, in this family, we're oil men. You're going to get out there and you're going to drill for oil. That's what we do, James. You're not going to disgrace my family name or your bloodline with any gay shit. You're not going to be in theater. You're not going to be in musicals. No, Dad. I'm not even gay. I just want to sing. I want to dance.
Action, that forgiveness, attraction. As a matter of faction, what you bring, we can't get down. It gives us satisfaction when you take civil action. You'll go out and attack them, investigate and hit the ground.
Now, I know It was very, very cringe. Exceptionally cringe. I've made you sit through some pretty intense cringe, but it does not even compare in the slightest, not even a fraction. Think of sand on the beach to what you are about to see. Now, one of the biggest problems with the Tim Pools and the James O'Keefes is, again, if you are really trying to uphold traditionalist values, you are trying to uphold power structures of white supremacy, power structures, of course, of patriarchy, in various ways. And so by targeting, say, corruption or the ability to maintain free speech, or like we're going after this, ultimately your art is going to be, at best, incredibly derivative and counter to the actual original messaging in the original music video that was done by Michael Jackson back in the day, in this sequence that I guess you could say, he would say it's probably an homage. I would say it's kind of a parody. We'll save the Project Veritas paid by video for a couple seconds because I want to learn a little bit more about what's happening behind the scenes. The memo's authors also raised concerns about O'Keefe's use of Project blah, blah, blah. The experience involves O'Keefe dancing while wearing a bulletproof vest. I'm going to show you that soon. In December, Project Veritas acknowledged improperly giving O'Keefe $20,500 in excess benefits to pay for the Project Veritas staff to accompany him to Virginia as he performed a lead role in the production of the musical Oklahoma. In the memo, one employee worried that all the money spent on musicals risked alienating donors. All the theater stuff and how it was handled makes me very uneasy, the memo reads, adding later, in the end, we are in deficit now. Our fans and potential fans beyond that do not respond positively to all that stuff. But musicals weren't the only thing irritating the donors. According to one petition, O'Keefe is portrayed throughout the document as badgering uncomfortable donors for 5- and 6-figure checks. Other donors didn't like the treatment of his employees, the employees said. When a woman O'Keefe had asked for $75,000 check requesting a picture with him, adding, according to the memo, he was very rudely refused. Irish Panda, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. It's very generous of you. This is how this show is funded, by the way. And I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes they may turn it into musical acts, different effects, different rooms like this you see before you, and these wonderful things that the artist Kyle and our worker co-op has put together. And yes, sometimes we're going to dance. Sometimes we're going to have dancey things, and we're going to enjoy our dancing. And to be honest with you, I'm not ashamed of that because I enjoy those things. And you know when you fund this show that some of that money may go towards that. But here's the thing. With James O'Keefe, they're living a lie. So many of these dudes, they're living lies. It's like, it's both tragic, sad, and at the same time, I'm very happy that James O'Keefe is siphoning far-right funds and transferring them into productions of the musical Oklahoma. That's darling. That's amazing. I would rather that money is being used like with illicit funds to go do something like that rather than say, I don't know, target trans people. This is so much better. If it's like, hey, we have to take our staff. What are we going to do? Some kind of sting operation? Are we going after Pfizer again? Or maybe we're going to go to one of those drag shows we've heard so much about. No, this is even worse. Worse than a drag show. Yeah, totally. Anyways, come with me. Okay, so we gotta get ready. We got about 4 to 5 weeks before opening day, and I don't know if you're all ready for this, but you gotta work on those pipes, guys. And it's like, wait, what? We're doing Oklahoma with the money from Project Veritas that like the big donors have given you. That's why you flew us all out here to do a fucking Oklahoma fucking play. I mean, maybe he was a hero all along. When a woman O'Keefe had asked for $75,000 check, requested a picture with him, according to the memo, he was very rudely refused. She was humiliated to the point of tears. Okay, so let's see what Tim Cass has to say about this. Because Tim Cass shares a lot with Tim Pool. If you didn't know, I'll just quickly show you 2 seconds of his latest music video. I believe it's called Genocide. Tim Pool Genocide.
We're slowly marching to our suicide instead of living. Tell me what to do instead of dreaming. Let me die for you. If I could see the darkness in the minds and their tainted eyes.
So you get it, right? Rage with the machine. So they both share that. They both have a passion for, if I could have been anything, I don't know if I would have been the YouTube guy who hates queer people for money. I don't know if that would have been my path. There could have been I could have been a border, could have been a pro-border. Maybe could have gone pro. You never know, right? I mean, you know, a handful of pro boarders have told me that they think I'm adequate. I also could have been maybe the front man for a band. You know, we could have done a world tour, sold some stadiums, blah, 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 probably break up, get back together, get into a fight at the Grammys, you know, that kind of stuff. So this is the path that both James O'Keefe, he wanted to be a famous, you know, in musicals, that kind of stuff. Tim Pool wanted to be basically in a worse Nickelback.
Breaking news pertaining to Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. He has been placed on paid leave over some kind of controversy involving the firing of a chief financial officer. I have a Twitter thread from one individual breaking down what happened, and I can say right now that I have...
Why don't you, like, you have the actual complaints. We know you do. You were like bragging about it on the Timcast versus like we're now going to you know, my own proprietary website where we have the actual complaints here themselves. But sure, Twitter threads explaining it, also good.
The letter drafted by the employees making complaints about James O'Keefe, and I'm with James O'Keefe on this one.
Nickelback does metal now. It's not bad. It's not bad. Ooh, I do not want to dip my ears into hearing what that sounds like right now. It's too much, all right? We're already enjoying ourselves. We're having a fun Friday. These are wonderful, darling stories from some of the worst human beings on the planet. These people make so many other people's lives miserable for money. And it turns out that they've both been kind of living lies and they want to do other things.
Look, I don't know a whole lot about the internal workings of Project Veritas. I just know that James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. So what we're hearing is that there's some disgruntled employees who have issued their complaints.
One third of the staff. One third of the staff.
In some instance, apparently he tried to fire an individual or more, which resulted in the board taking the action of removing James O'Keefe. All of this at a time when infighting and drama among the anti-establishment and the culture war right seems to be reaching critical mass.
It's true, and I'm so here for it. Oh, the longer you're all fighting each other, the less you're going after marginalized communities. And it's music to my ears. Keep going. Let them fight. Let them fight. Like fucking, and it's gonna, the schism is all the way up to the highest levels, all right? We're talking the presidency. Like fucking Donald Trump going after Ron DeSantis now, straight up just being like, yeah, he's a groomer. Groomer loves kids. Always has been. You know, now it's like, holy shit. All right. Well, we got one camp that's going to be straight up like, they're calling each other groomers. Great. They're not calling queer people groomers. They're not calling trans people groomers. They're not calling gay people groomers. They're not calling kids fucking being groomed by like, awesome. Fight each other. That sounds so much better.
So it is what it is. I can't tell you why it's happening. It is just, it's
anti-establishment right is an oxymoron. Yeah, I know that. Like, and that's why, like, ultimately the James O'Keefe based songs or musical numbers and or the Tim Pool / rockouts are never truly going to be fantastic pieces of art, because at the end of the day it is about upholding the status quo. It is about upholding the current systems as they are to the benefit of the very few. It is about maintaining white supremacy. It is about maintaining patriarchy. That's that like, and at the end of the day you can have incredibly well produced music videos, very slick sounding production. You can hire producers, you can get entire bands together, and you could probably even start selling tickets out. That doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, like, you're still like, yeah, I just love the machine. Where is the boot lord? You know, that kind of shit. Like, it's like, it is technically music. This is technically a rock song, right? But I wouldn't call it good, that going that far.
Happening everywhere. And especially considering Project Veritas recently just came out with one of its biggest stories ever, exposing an executive from Pfizer talking about what people would colloquially describe as gain-of-function research. This comes
Again, absolutely zero evidence has been provided that person worked for Pfizer. In the video itself, he says that he actually was lying the entire time to impress someone on a date. Also seems incredibly strange that someone suddenly goes into the strange fit where they all start fighting each other. Also kind of feels like they were acting. Either way, there's nothing in there so far that we've seen that leads us to believe that this in fact was someone who was not only working for Pfizer, but describing how Pfizer has been in fact doing directed evolution and gain-of-function research. Whoa, the scary things. You don't fully know how they operate, but you've heard them before, and you know they're scary when you hear them invoked.
Off as highly suspect. Why now?
By the way, I a little Googling, and it turns out the very people who are supposed to be in that position at Pfizer, that information, the people who are in those positions, is publicly available. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look like the person who was in the video. But again, there could be another person who's working at Pfizer who they don't want to reveal, of course, works there, and this person's actual information has been scrubbed off the internet for some reason. Also strange, but yeah, who knows? Who knows? A person and an outfit that has a documented history of lying for money and donations, which I didn't know some of that money was going into musical numbers, which that part's darling, but everything else, fuck you.
Project Veritas's biggest moment. And they've had many big moments, don't get me wrong. The Amy Rohrbach tapes, where they exposed how ABC News covered up the Epstein interview. Why right now is this all happening? It seems tactless. Why would, if Project Veritas had a problem, if the board members had a problem, why would they not simply say, guys, we're going to wait? Maybe they can't. I don't know. Well, let me know what you think. I'm sure there are a lot of people who have their concerns or issues with me, because I've certainly been in a mood, as it were. But I think
in a mood.
We have a serious conversation about the bifurcation and the fracturing and the collapse in the unity that we've seen in the culture war right, as it would be described. And we have to address it. We have to absolutely address it. Look, man, you know, it's one thing when you feel personally slighted or you're upset about the way an organization is operating. But let me just stress right now, between the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder, between me and the Quartering and anyone else involved in that, between Project Veritas and James O'Keefe, yeah, we can't have this. We absolutely cannot.
Ron DeSantis, Trump.
We can have our differences, we can have our disagreements, but if this persists at this level, especially after I just covered a story at 1 p.m. about 2 Republicans now being killed, this will be the end of whatever it is we are all trying to accomplish. The story of Project Veritas, I've been hearing murmurs about from sources over the past couple of days and not gotten any strong confirmation. But I do now have the unpublished letter, as of the time of recording of this video, unpublished. I don't know, maybe someone will get it out before I publish this video. But at the time, the document explaining why people are upset with James O'Keefe. And perhaps, I don't know. People may think it's bad to show because it's people posting very critical things about James O'Keefe, but I don't believe much of this. And it seems like, I don't know, man, something's happening that is gutting our efforts to push back on the woke cult. And maybe it is.
So there's one, I guess, good thing about their rhetoric over the last little while. So much has depended on a false reality. And I know they think that the liberals or leftists are living in their own false reality. Everyone must think that your opponent is living in a world like, oh, the liberalism is a mental disorder. You always hear them say that, stuff like that, right? But they are not living in reality. And they live in a reality in which just the very discussion of things like pronouns now means that you are, in fact, grooming children, things like that. If you happen to be gay and you mention that you have a husband, that is, of course, grooming children if a children is anywhere near that conversation and stuff like that. They've gone so far beyond the pale. They don't believe that there was an attempted coup. Some of them believe that Donald Trump actually won the election. None of this is real. None of this is based in reality. And so to explain things, they constantly have to do this whole conspiracy theory shit. And right now it's kind of biting Tim Pool in the ass, because like the reality of the situation is that James O'Keefe, it seems, is like a very difficult man to work with, a tyrannical leader of his company, has a substance abuse problem, has a potential problem with sexually and verbally abusing staff, could be responsible for overseeing a company that has allowed staff members to overdose on drugs, has incredibly high rates of drug use, and of a very, very dysfunctional atmosphere. And in addition to all that, was siphoning lots and lots of money into his own personal pet project, which of course is the James O'Keefe musical experience.
A byproduct of the fact that we're not a cult, that we don't all agree, that we don't all get along. Well, we may not. We may not agree and we may not get along, but this is reaching a point of serious concern. And having seen that story earlier about 2 Republicans being shot and killed, maybe not political, seeing James O'Keefe ousted from Veritas at their peak moment, I think it's time we consider minimizing
him. It's because these people are all fucking gross ass scumbags. Gross. There's not a conspiracy theory that's like, oh, this conspiracy theory has made apparently, allegedly, Matt Gaetz traffic a whole bunch of children and apparently, supply them with drugs before he was sexually assaulting them. Oh, it must be the Matrix. Speaking of the Matrix, Andrew Tate actually isn't guilty at all. Did you know about this? He's actually starting a fund to be able to go after people who falsely accuse men of things like human trafficking and stuff like that. Like, these people they're all scumbags. Every single one of them. Like, the reason Matt Walsh is getting rolled right now is because of Matt Walsh's history of being gross. It's like, yeah, he went to a fucking health board in Tennessee, and they were straight up like, why are you, like, what is your actual qualifications for speaking about the health of children who, you know, and the relationship between a doctor and a parent? What gives you the right to be able to speak on this? Well, I have a brain and a soul, and I can read good enough. Read good enough that I know what's actually happening. I can see the truth. It's like, well, Matt, you think 16 is the ideal impregnation age of teenagers, and that the problem isn't that teenagers could get impregnated by older men at that age. It's that those older men are cowards and don't marry them afterwards. The problem is the lack of marriage, not the fact that old dudes are impregnating kids. That's gross. Oh no, that's a hit piece. It's a Media Matters hit piece. And all I was saying was that at that particular age, that's what used to happen. Medieval times. That's what I was talking about. The fact that he lied about that, though, and like tried to downplay how gross it is, you know that he thinks that something's fucked up about more people hearing about it. That gives you ammunition. That clip in its entirety, his own words, by the way. This is not, oh, defamation. This is you. This is you talking here in this clip, Matt. He does not like other people hearing the actual reality of that clip. And that's good, because the guy is a massive bigot. He's a massive he's a self-described fascist, so fuck Matt Walsh. So when you know something upsets Matt Walsh to that degree.
Our emotional responses to the drama between each other, and maximizing our emotional responses and logical responses to the greater fight at hand. That is to say that if this drama continues between various networks, it will result in our failure. I can only put it that way. So while certainly I have my personal feelings, I'm going to start this video out by saying this. To all the people who are upset with me, especially over the video that I put out the other day, you know what? I'm going to apologize. Absolutely. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. Obviously, we have our differences, and obviously I feel a certain way. But I don't want to fight with you. Not right now. Not after reading these stories about these murders. Not after seeing what's going on with Project Veritas. And not after Project Veritas did something so important. So to all of you who are upset, I do apologize, because it was stupid. We can't do this. It was stupid considering what's going on with the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder. And I think you guys need to figure out how to work that one out as well. Because this one freaked me out. I started, I got to be careful about what I say to protect sources.
By the way, he doesn't care about being labeled on the right anymore. Right? Like, that's over now. This whole thing is about him aligning with all these other far-right people and extremists and being like, whatever project we're doing, we can't fight with each other because we're all on the same team, clearly. And I apologize, okay? Cornering. I'm not going after you anymore. None of you. Like, those officially, those days are done.
I'm speaking with journalists based out of New York who, you've got many leftists who are digging into this story. And you know, it doesn't feel right, and something feels wrong, and it feels like this may be the biggest threat to our efforts to protect American values, to protect what we believe in this country. So we can't have it. So again, I'm not that kind of guy. You know, I'm kind of an arrogant narcissist, whatever you want to call me. But I'm going to start this out by saying, Jeremy Hambley, we shouldn't fight. I have very little concerns about the drama stuff. We got to talk about this. This is the big news. We have to come together where we agree, and obviously, me and anybody else is upset outside of Jeremy.
Because obviously, as you probably already know, Jeremy, I haven't watched the video, but I've seen the thumbnail. They're frenzies again. Yeah. It was very short-lived. Coming together for the greater good.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback, because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arnie, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.